Alden Ehrenreich doesn't look like Han Solo or anything close to Harrison Ford. There, I said it. And you might go, oh, well, he's gonna make his own version of Han Solo in this movie. No, it doesn't work like that. This isn't a reboot. It's not Spider-Man we're talking about. This is Star Wars. This is supposed to be a movie about the young Han Solo we saw in A New Hope. The Han Solo that was played by Harrison Ford that everyone knew and loved growing up. And this square-faced man looks absolutely nothing like Han. I mean, nothing against square-faced men. I was just trying to make a point, you know? I'm sure he could be a great Star Wars character, but he just isn't Han. Now, Disney, we're not at all complaining that he just doesn't look like Harrison Ford. He sounds nothing like him either, and you're a big company. You should be able to afford someone who looks like Han a little bit more, right? Or at least find someone that resembles him at the very least, and pay to give them some acting lessons. And don't give us the excuse that there was no one else that could have played young Han Solo. You literally picked the very first person you saw audition.
The person who got the part was the first person to audition. He was literally the first person to walk in the door.
And you might ask, who on earth could have played a better Han than this guy? He's awesome. Well, realistically, we know with Daisy Ridley and John Boyega that Disney likes to mainly bring in new young actors who haven't really made it big in Hollywood yet. So that crosses out all of our A-list picks like Miles Teller, Dave Franco, and Ansel Elgort, which, by the way, would have all been a way better pick than this guy. But this narrows down our choice to two people that Disney should have picked to play the young Han. First, we've got the American voice actor Jamie Costa, who literally funded and made his own Han Solo film, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, and the Canadian voice actor Anthony Gruber, who, if you look at his impression of Han Solo, would convince you alone that he would do a way better job than Ehrenreich. Just look at this.
Han Solo, I'm Captain of the Millennium Falcon. Cheerier tells me you're looking for a passage to the Alderaan system. You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs. It's gonna cost you something extra. 10,000. All in advance.
See what I'm saying? He's literally the reincarnation of young Harrison Ford. And we're going to talk about both of these guys in a sec. But first, I want to get the opinion of every true OG Star Wars fan I can. If you grew up watching Star Wars as a kid, or were around to go see the original trilogy released into theaters, I want you to go comment down below what you think of this Alden Ehrenreich guy playing the Han Solo you knew growing up, and send this to your Star Wars friends too, because I want to know what the true fans actually think of this guy, not what the media wants us to hear, because I'm sure Disney could easily manipulate some of them, but not here, not this comment section. So go comment down below, send this to your Star Wars friends, and come back and let's talk about this, because even if the movie bombs and Ehrenreich comes nowhere close to bridging that gap of being Han Solo to us true fans, there are still some things I'm excited for in this movie, like specifically the Falcon dogfights, more Chewbacca, and that cool train fight scene we saw from the trailer, and a few other things here and there we'll talk about. But before we get that far, please tell me how anybody in their right mind thinks this guy looks anything like Han Solo. His face is very square and round, whereas Han's face is much taller, not near as wide. Their facial structure is completely polar opposites, and you're telling me that this is the guy that's supposed to be Han Solo to me? Look at this, his head is so round here and looks even more different from Han. Young Han should look a little something more like this. Maybe minus the blonde hair, but you get what I'm saying. The facial structure actually looks like Han's, and you can tell it's him. This guy just looks nothing like the Han Solo I looked up to when I was a kid. And not to mention, Harrison Ford is like, what, 6'1", and this kid's only 5'9"?
You're shorter than I expected.
And I know it might sound like I'm nitpicking with this one, but his voice sounds nothing like Han Solo's. And it's not nitpicking because we have those other two guys that we mentioned earlier, and they look and sound just like Han. Listen to how different this guy sounds.
Look, your worshipfulness, let's get one thing straight. I take orders from just one person, me.
Really? Is this necessary? Being human is feeling bad. It's feeling pissed off. It's feeling scared and not being able to do anything about it.
Not to mention, he can't even do a good impersonation of Han's mannerisms or facial expressions. This guy literally had such a hard time portraying Han that the directors called in an acting coach halfway into production, which is never done. And as a last resort, they called in Harrison Ford himself to give this kid some tips in hopes of improving his acting. Real reassuring, right? Leave it to Disney to mess up this movie that has so much potential by completely abandoning the fans and doing what they wanted to do here. Now, usually usually a company could get away with something like this, but we're talking about Disney here, the $100 billion company controlling the biggest film franchise in all of history, and they can't even hire the right actor to portray one of the most beloved heroes of the films. It's just inexcusable. They have enough money to hire multiple teams to go out and find the right actor for this role. As the director said, they literally had 3,000 tapes to look over and simply just picked the first one. Are you serious? And even if the voice actors that look like Han didn't have acting skills, they could have easily sent them through whatever schooling or coaching they needed to prepare them for this role. And usually a general rule of thumb is don't hire someone who can do a good impression, right? But like I said before, this isn't a reboot we're talking about. Going from Tobey Maguire to Andrew Garfield to Tom Holland was no sweat because each time they were telling the story of a different Spider-Man. This Solo movie is canon and is literally about Harrison Ford's Han Solo. And just like they're saying that Carrie Fisher can't be replaced by another actor in episode 9, it'd be really hard to replace Harrison Ford as Han Solo. And finding someone that looks, talks, and moves like the Han Solo we grew up with would just help bridge that gap in all of the fans' minds watching the film. It would help them believe themselves that they were actually watching the adventures of a young Han Solo. And this would undoubtedly make the film more successful, bringing Disney more revenue. And if the story was good, possibly prompting another Han movie. At this point, it was a poor financial choice on Disney's part to not have hired someone who better resembled Han. And they already signed this kid up to play Han in 2 more movies after this. For real? He better be a really good Han. Alright, we've got to move on to something a little lighter because this is just disappointing. Okay, so on to the good part. We literally have our choice between 2 spitting images of young Han Solo on our hands. First, let's talk about Jamie Costa. Now, he started out doing impressions of Han Solo on Vine, if I can remember right, and he ended up doing them so well and he liked playing that character enough that he launched a campaign to help fund his own Solo fan film. And I've got to say, I wanted this to happen so badly from the moment I saw the teaser. I mean, look at this.
I've got one friend in this entire galaxy, and he needs my help.
He literally sounds just like Han here. And look, he's even got the same lines under his eyes here. I don't know why this gets me so excited, but he actually looks like Han Solo. And here too. Look at this. It looks just like Harrison Ford. And check this out. We got the signature Han over the shoulder throw we saw in Endor.
Hey, wait!
Look at this. He does the same runaway that Han did in A New Hope. And a huge emphasis on his voice here. Close your eyes and listen to this clip real quick and see who pops into your mind.
Yeah. Take it easy. Better get that back.
Do you see what I'm saying? This is Han Solo all around, ladies and gentlemen. And look at this.
No, I'm not a Jedi. Oh, you can't have it. You'll hurt yourself and then you'll hurt me.
He's already got great chemistry with Chewie. I mean, what could be better? The man actually has a petition for him to be cast as young Solo, and look at this gif. If that's not Han, I don't know what is. Or do I? Yes, I do. Moving on to the next voice actor, we've got Anthony Gruber. Now, he comes into the scene from a video he posted to YouTube back in 2008, where he does the most spot-on impression of Han Solo I think anyone's ever seen. Check this out.
A fast ship. You never heard of the Millennium Falcon? It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
He is spot on. I mean, all the way down to Han Solo's growl he has in his voice, to his facial expressions and mannerisms, and he even looks like Harrison Ford. Look at that smile. It is uncanny how close he can imitate Ford. Now, he was 17 years old when he did that impression. Fast forward to 2015, and he's just turned 25 years old. And he's reached out to and hired for this role in a movie called Age of Adeline that had a scene of Harrison Ford's younger self in it. They flew the kid out and shot this scene within a month's notice. I mean, look at this.
You know, you keep doing that, you're gonna flood your engine.
Thank you. Thank you for the useful tip.
Alright, all it needs is a push start. Just lose the brake, I'll give you a push. You pop your clutch and you'll take off.
He sounds like him, he looks like him, he walks like him. What else do you need to convince you, Disney? And that whole point we brought up earlier about how impressionists aren't always the best actors gets thrown right out the window. Sure, this was a smaller role than the main character, but he still did a fantastic job of acting, especially for only having a month to prepare. Just imagine how much better he could be with 6 months notice and the best acting coaches Disney's money could buy. I can't even imagine. He'd be a spitting image of Han Solo by the time they were done with him. And I thought, well, if Disney didn't get him to do the role, there must have been some reason why. Maybe this kid's grown up and aged a bit and doesn't look like Han anymore. So I looked him up on Twitter, and what do I find? If anything, he looks more like Han. Look at these pictures. Like, come on, Disney, what are you doing? This kid's 28 years old now, and that's the perfect age for a young Han to be. I mean, check this out. This is Harrison Ford and his first screen appearance in Dead Heat on a Merry-Go-Round when he was just 24.
No, sir. Charles Ellis. Room 607.
You sure?
Yes, sir.
They are so similar. Disney, why are you doing this? Having an actor that looks and sounds like the Han Solo that all of us grew up with is crucial in easing that transition for all the true fans into not having any more Harrison Ford in this universe. Having someone replace him and take on such a large role would have been much better if the actor resembled him in the slightest bit. But at this point, the damage has been done. The choice has been made. We just have to move on and accept their decision. But even if this movie bombs and the fans are in uproar trying to remove this film from the Disneyverse, there are still some things I'm looking forward to in this movie. First and foremost, I can't wait to see some crazy Falcon dogfights in this movie. I remember watching The Force Awakens for the very first time, and I don't know if the theater had their bass turned up or what, but when Rey and Finn were in the dogfight with the ties above Jakku, I could feel each blast in my chest, and the energy was just shooting through the roof. I just wanted to scream out for joy in my seat. And I was just so excited. I just can't wait for more of that in this movie, I hope. And also, we saw almost no Chewbacca in The Last Jedi. Like, what the heck? I get he wasn't a main part of the plot, but I'm glad we'll get to see a lot more of him in this movie, and I'm really looking forward to just more screen time of him in general. Also, that monorail shootout from the trailer looks so sick. That should really be cool. Kind of almost reminiscent of that scene from Captain America 2, I think, the one with all the snow. That train scene? Yeah, that was cool. Oh, and the overall Western gunslinger vibe of this film looks really neat. It's kind of a little gritty like Rogue One, and I really think it'll work well in the film's favor. But overall, yeah, I'm trying to get excited for this movie. I mean, I think I am. I know I'm really excited for Chewie and the Falcon and all that, but I think I'm just having a hard time picturing this new guy as Han Solo, and I'm just worried that'll ruin the whole movie for me. But if you're a Star Wars fan, go comment what you think of this guy and send it to your Star Wars friends to see what they think. I'm definitely going to do an expert evaluation of this movie after it drops, so subscribe so you get notified when that video comes out. I want to come together and talk about it as a community and see what everyone has to think of it. But in the meantime, I will see you in the next video. Peace.
I got a good feeling about this.
I got a really good feeling about this.